Okay, I think we're live. Hey, everybody, you're watching Ballerina Badass. My name is Georgia Reed. And today, for today's stretch and kvetch, I'm going to be doing some stretching. I need to be working out the next kinks in my body, and then we'll talk a little bit about which ballet technique is the best. Which ballet technique do you prefer? That kind of thing. I still have so much research to do on it. I'm one of those people where I'm such a nerd for anything that I feel like I never know enough. And as such, I tend to be a little bit over hard on myself. You know, am I an expert? It's like, well, I've been dancing over 20 years, but I still don't feel like I'm an expert. And the truth is, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So you kind of need to be a little bit of a sociopath, I guess, to I don't know. I disagree. I disagree. But let's get to it. So first of all, stretching. Checking in on my body this week. Things are feeling much better. If you've been following these live streams that I started doing, I am absolutely doing these for myself to show up. And you all are like my accountability buddies, which is really helpful because it means that I have to appear at least once a week and work on something ballet and body related. And it's already been having a positive effect on me and my overall health. So I thank you all for being here and for showing up because it's helping me out. And we already have some comments. Oh, Dancer 21 is here. Oh, you ants. Oh, good. So this is great, you guys. Just a side note, Dancer 21 had come to the live stream last week, asked a really great question about performance overwhelm, and I decided to do a more in-depth video about it. So yes, good. So you watched it. Oh, that's wonderful. You had to rewatch it to really understand the advice. I know it's a lot. And you have another question. Oh, please. This is great. Okay. So I have one more question. We can always throw the rest of the live stream stuff to later, and I can always make videos about my stuff later. This is more important. Your questions are always more important to me, you guys. So I have one more question, but it's kind of taboo. Ooh, but it's my life. I don't know how not to ask what's going on in my life. Can you rephrase that? I don't quite understand. It's my life. I don't know how not to ask what's going on in my life. If you can give me a little more information on that, I'm not quite sure how to answer that. Or if you're feeling uncomfortable and you want to take it to the side, everybody, you can have my email. It's not a secret email. It's just my name, georgiareed@gmail.com. Please don't spam me. But you can absolutely reach out to me, or you can use my georgiaisgiselle@gmail.com if you want to be more ballet-like. If you want to put the question on the side. Otherwise, put a little bit more in the comments in the chat so that I can understand what you're asking. And while you're doing that, I'm going to just do some basic stretches. Body is better already. The hamstring is still sore. Just guys, when you pull a hammy, it takes a long time for it to heal, and you have to be careful because it can re-injure itself really easily. And then it's just a losing battle. So what I did this week, number one, I did some other exercise that's not dance related to actually just kind of keep it moving without putting too much stress on it. So on Friday, actually, besides doing like my stationary bike, I have a stationary bike over here, you can't see it, but then I try to do a walk around the block every day just to get the body moving, get some sunlight, because dancers, we don't get a lot of vitamin D. But then on Friday, I went and I picketed with the WGA, that's the Writers Guild of America, for their strike. They are having a writer strike right now. If you don't know about it, go look it up. It's super important. The last big writer strike was in 07, 08, and here we are again. And I'm pre-WGA. I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA as an actor, but I am wanting to eventually be a member of the WGA because I do write. So with AI coming in and with the streaming services, there's a lot to unpack. And that's not what this video is about today. My apologies. But the point is, I went and I picketed with them, which meant standing and walking around a lot. It was wonderful. And I met so many great people, and you hear so many amazing stories. And you get a lot of cars honking at you, which was fun. That was my favorite part. Is I stand right at the stoplight. People would stop and they'd kind of look over at me, and I'd go, honk, honk, come on, give us a little honk, honk. And they'd be like, honk, honk. And we're like, yeah, honk, honk, honking in solidarity. It was really cool. So look that up. And then yesterday, Saturday, I had a blast. I got to do live modeling for a boutique out in Burbank. They make the cutest dresses. It's so great. Again, I don't get any money for saying this. I'm just saying what I got to do was essentially dance in a fashion window for 2 hours. And it was just basic grooving, you know what I mean? But just that movement again, it made my hammy so happy because he was like, okay, we're moving. He's a he, I guess, my right leg. He's a he hammy. So he liked that. And then also I could feel my ankle. It's also still, it's almost there. I need to do a little bit more daily, like physical therapy exercises to really strengthen it. But if you follow me on TikTok, I have a really silly TikTok. I'm still figuring out what I'm doing with it. I have been doing some dance videos on there. So for Star Wars Day, for May the 4th be with you, May 4th, I did a disco Wookiee dance, and I did it in high platforms because disco. I definitely wore my ankle braces, and that was great. And it just reminded me of how much I wish when I was dancing full time, I had done some more ankle brace work, you know, just to keep on keeping them in the right alignment. And I know you shouldn't like lean on them, but at the same time, you do what you have to do to make the leg work. So that's kind of what's going on. Ooh, I need to lean forward. We've got comments. This is so good. And then I'll try and keep, I've got to also do some stretching. Let's see. The question is about body stuff. I don't know if that's triggering or stuff. And I know you know where I dance. I do. And I love that. But please, yeah, no, we're not going to say it. Okay. So the question is how to deal with pressure of having, yes. I'm going to just read it quickly to myself. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. This is such a great question. So check it out, guys. This dancer is asking about, and I'm going to cry. It's triggering in a good way, okay? So here's the deal. What the dancer is asking about is how when the people you work for are saying to you, wow, you look incredible. Whatever you're doing, don't stop. You look amazing. But what they don't know is that the things you're doing to look amazing are not healthy. You're having to, because I've been there, so I can speak to my experience. The first thing that comes to mind was Kansas City Ballet. Now, and again, Kansas City Ballet is not at fault. That was a really compared to the other companies, that was a much happier experience for me. William Whitener was the director at the time. And he was really nice from what little interaction I had. Remember, I was only there for a year. I was a seasonal dancer. I own this. It's like, yes, I was professional, but also there's varying levels of how professional, how famous did you get? So I was there for one season. And then I went to New York and joined Ballet Hispanico. But when I was there, I can remember I was starving myself. I was doing things like I lived in a carriage house by myself, and every night after rehearsal, I would go back to this carriage house, and there was a pull-out sofa to sleep on. It turned into a bed. I wouldn't even bother turning it into a bed. I would just leave it in sofa position. And somebody had brought power bars to the company. I forget if it was like a promotional thing or whatever. And everybody got like a box of power bars, and I would just go home and eat power bar after power bar and watch TV, and then I would go and throw it up. I did. I became bulimic for a little while, and the funny thing was, I didn't do it for long because very quickly I started to cough up blood. I'm sorry if this is triggering, but I want to be honest with you guys. And the minute I started seeing blood coming up, I was like, oh my God, this isn't worth it. But while I was doing all this to make extra money on the side, because this is something I don't like about any ballet companies, rarely are you getting paid enough to make a living, a full living. I was also house sitting. So I remember I was over at this huge mansion with a big name family. I've probably talked about this in other videos. And, you know, these are the same people who are throwing the big fundraiser events. And of course, there was a Friends of Alvin Ailey group there, and they were always throwing these posh events. And so the woman who owned the house, and she was very nice, but also very wealthy. And I get that at a certain point when you're that wealthy, how nice can you really be to anyone? Because how can you trust anyone when it probably feels like to them all they want is money. Does that make sense? Anyways, but I remember I was at a really low place and I was starving myself and dealing with all this. And she looked at me and she was like, wow, you really look good. You know, you've really slimmed out. And I was so happy at the time, but then at the same time, I just had this weird thing way far back here in the back of my head, like something's wrong with this. Why am I so happy I'm getting a compliment from this one random woman about how I'm skinnier? Aren't I good enough already? Like, shouldn't it be enough that I'm just a great performer? And you can't tell them. You can. What are you supposed to say to them? Because then they think, oh, you're ungrateful, or da, 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 da. Here's the thing. I feel like first of all, wherever you are in your life, that's where you are, and you have to go through it yourself to figure it out. So I can give you all the advice in the world, and I'll share my advice here from where I sit now 20 something years later. But something that my therapist told me that I truly adore is this. I know what I would do in your situation, but I'm not you. And what works for me might not work for you. So if you could do anything in the world, if you had all the power in the world, if you knew for a fact you weren't going to lose your job no matter what, you were safe, your job is secure, your destiny is foretold, and you're going to get everything you want, what would you do in that situation to fix this? If you knew your job was safe, because I'm assuming that's the main thing, it's just like, I don't want to lose my job, I don't want to upset anybody, I don't want to this, I don't want to that, what would you do? And think on that, journal on it, ramble it, say it. I would say to you, if you still are going, but Georgia, what about you? I'd say, you know, the fact that you've gotten this far in your career, and this is what I wish I had known back then. Because back then I really felt like there's only so many jobs and I have to, whatever job I get, never be another one. And sooner or later, they're going to figure out that I'm really horrible because I didn't really believe in myself. I had moments. Like I believed in myself as an entertainer. I'm like, I know I can entertain an audience like a mother trucker. But in terms of technique, in terms of being skinny enough, I didn't trust any of that. And I was like, no, I'll never be, I don't do enough turns. My leg isn't high enough. And if I had just trusted, my God, I got into 3 different companies without hardly even trying. Only one of them did I really audition for. The other 2, they just saw me and were like, come over here and dance with us. That's incredible. That's incredible. I must have had something that they wanted. Something. I had a spark. I had a gift. I still have it. It's still in here. That spark is the thing that I cling to some days because I'm like, I know this spark is a gift and I love sharing it. I love entertaining people. I just love it. And for me now, it's like, I don't care what, if it's acting, stand-up comedy, dancing, singing, just hamming it up. I love it. I enjoy it. And people yesterday at the modeling gig, they were like, oh my God, it's just so much fun being around you. And I love it. I love doing it. So that's there. And having known that now, I wish I could have just gone into them and said, guys, look, I got to level with you. I got to level with you. I love dancing here. I really do. It is so much fun. This is such an incredible opportunity, and I don't want to screw it up. And at the same time, I want to make sure that I can have an open communication with you as directors because I value you, because I know you also have been in this position before. Or then again, maybe not. Maybe, knowing the particular directors of this particular company, I feel like they've always looked that good. But we never really truly know the struggles of other people. You look at an Ariana Grande. If anyone read the book by the other girl who was in Nickelodeon, who now, Jeanette McCurdy's book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Oh my God, I read it. It is heart-wrenching. And you look at her side and then what it was like for her to have to look over at an Ariana Grande where it seemed like everything was just being handed to her. But you know what? I don't know Jeanette McCurdy. I don't know Ariana Grande. Who knows what challenges Ariana Grande has had? And that doesn't diminish Jeanette's challenges. Everyone's story is different, and we can always compare and despair. It's like, oh, the Kardashians don't know what suffering is. On the one hand, no, they don't. But on the other hand, oh my God, you couldn't pay me to be a Kardashian. I can't imagine the amount of hate leveled at them every single day, every single hour, every single minute. So my point is, the directors of this company that you're in, what is the worst thing that could happen? You sit down and you say, guys, I need to talk to you about this because I appreciate so much that you're telling me I look great. And, I agree. But I am taking some unhealthy steps to get there. And I want to dance for a really long time. I admire you guys. You guys are doing it. Here are my goals as a dancer. I want to be, and I'm hoping if you feel this way, if you're feeling loyal to this company, that's a really good thing. Be loyal to that company and let them know you're loyal, because that is a tricky thing in dance companies, in any company, is, are these employees going to stick around? I mean, that's the big argument right now with workers in general, where I'm very much like, look, if if you want me to be your employee, you got to show me that, you're not just going to fire me on a whim. And that's very scary in the dance world. I mean, my God, you go from contract to contract. And I did that. I busted my ass at Cincinnati Ballet. And then it was like, nope, we're not bringing you back. And you're like, wait, what? And then you're like, oh my God. And then you keep going. By the way, you've still got like a good month or two left on your contract, and you keep going. And then suddenly they go, well, maybe we will bring you back. Do you want to come back? And now at this point, I was like, no, y'all were turds. So I got to like, what, prove that I want to be here when you just, dangled this thing in front of me? I don't like that. It's very disconcerting for me, and dealing with anxiety that I didn't know I had back then. But again, I ramble. If you can have the fortitude to just go into those directors and say, this is scary as hell for me, but I got to tell you this right now. I am so glad you all think I look great, and I want to keep dancing for you as long as I can. I love this company, but my God, I'm making some unhealthy choices, and I'm scared to stop doing them because I don't want to lose your favor. What can I do? Can you guys help me? Please, I would really appreciate it. And if you look at it from a corporate perspective, because I worked in corporate America for 3 years to make a butt ton of money to help my family during the pandemic, it was a whole nother thing. But something that my boss kept saying to me is, when I would have a suggestion on how to make improvements at the company, my boss would say, they need to see the numbers. They need to see the numbers of how this is going to help them, right? It's the old help me, help you. So what can you bring to the table when you talk to these directors? Or even if you need to start with the ballet master, if you need to go up the chain of command. But I mean, sometimes, what is it? Something favors the bold, boldness favors the something like that. So just going in and saying, look, this is something important to me because I want to be strong for all of these performances. I've been cutting some corners lately, but I'm scared to stop cutting those corners because I'm worried that short term it's going to have an effect on the look of my body, even though it's going to bring about a lot of long-term benefits. Can you help me with that? Do you have any good diet programs that I could get on? Is there a nutritionist that you could point me in the direction to? A therapist? I just want you guys to be aware of this behind the scenes. I don't want to make a big fuss in front of everybody, but it is concerning me, and I thought that it would be helpful for you all to know that, so that you're fully prepared. And then, if to take it a step further, I do have a friend who still dances professionally, who is just lovely. And, if you wanted to talk to me one-on-one about it, I'd be happy to do that. I'm not a licensed therapist. I am not a licensed nutritionist. I am just I've been through the school of hard knocks. And sometimes if you just need someone to talk to and vent for a little while, and you don't have a therapist, or you don't have the money to do it or whatever, if you want to send me a personal email, guys, again, you want to try and take advantage of this, I'm going to ignore and I'm going to mute you and block you and stuff, because I don't want everyone just to jump on this for no reason at all. But I'd be more than happy to see what I can do to talk to you on a personal level, because I truly want to do everything that I can to help other dancers have a more positive experience. Okay, I don't have my Patreon set up yet. This is the time. This is the time right now, before I become just so huge and fabulous that you'll have to sign up for an appointment to talk to me at $1 million an hour, which is ludicrous, because dance, oh my God, dance. Anyways, I hope this helps. The career can be so short. The tricks that you're doing now will affect you down the road. If you are someone who sees themselves wanting to have a long career, then take the steps now to make a difference. Yes, it's scary, as I know. But on the other hand, I feel like if I had spoken up a little more boldly with respect, respect, with a little bit of vulnerability, things might have gone differently for me. And I will say that if they don't hear you, if those directors don't want to hear it, then I got to tell you, you have a couple of choices to make. It's either you stay and you accept that and work with that understanding, or you do find somewhere else to go. And if you don't find somewhere else to go, then of course that's when you make your own place. And I get that's a whole nother discussion. And that's all very scary. If you're not ready to do any of this right now, it's okay not to be ready today. It's okay not to be ready today. Not knowing is okay. It's okay just to take a break and chew on this. Let it sit. Let it marinate. Do some more research. Google some things. I know, especially with dancers, is that big fear. If I speak out, I will be punished for it. God, look at the Me Too movement and what happened in Hollywood when the actresses started speaking out. It was scary. Something else you might do? You could try calling AGMA if you're a member of AGMA. See if they have some resources, or go on their website, see if they have some resources. But you're not alone. That's the main thing. And that was the thing for me that was the hardest when I was dancing. You're surrounded by people. I still had my parents. I had friends out there, not in the company, but somehow I felt so alone. I felt so alone. And like, I'm in my own head and just like, oh my God, I'm the only one going through this. Trust me, you're not. You're not the only one going through this. I'm sure most of the other people around you are going through it too, to some degree, even though they may not look like it. All right. So be gentle with yourself, be patient. And again, you have my email now. And as far as that pressure to maintain and go even further, I hear you. It's almost, there's nothing quite like having control over one's body to the point where you can go thinner, tighter, more cut, better. How far can you go? Let's take it out of the context of your body and look at capitalist America and go, how much money can we make? How much money is enough? When is it ever enough? And is it ever enough? But then if you start to put a cap on it, are we going into communism and not wanting to let people have the American dream? And so people get so scared of the extremes. If I stop trying to improve my body, it'll immediately get fat and horrible. So it can feel just like you're yo-yoing, right? Back and forth between either too skinny or too fat, which dancers, it's not possible. Not. So, yeah, I hope that helps. I'm going to do a little more stretching here. I know today's talk was going to be about the different ballet techniques and which ones do you like and which one is the best. And I thought about that. I do still subscribe to the belief that there is no best. I think there's just whatever works for you. I've been really lucky. I'm going to do my neck rolls. Oh my gosh. Ooh, yeah. I've been really lucky because my ballet teacher, Miss Alexandra Zaharias, she trained under Thalia Mara. Now I don't recall who Thalia Mara trained under, but I know that my teacher studied lots of different styles, right? And she came up with a very straightforward classical technique. It wasn't her own technique. She wasn't trying to like sell the Alexandra ballet technique. It was just, this is a classical ballet training. So I think it definitely had a lot of the French petit pas influence. There was she would give flavors of Cecchetti, maybe a flavor of Vaganova, maybe occasionally a flavor of things. Like, it'd be interesting. I can remember now. I'm not warmed up, but I'll just do this top half. We'd be in attitude derriere, right? And when you'd hit it, so you'd be in attitude derriere, the legs behind you at the bar, and then she'd say, now turn your arm this way. And then she'd say, that's Cecchetti style. I'm hoping I'm right here because I'm in the moment. I'm a little caught off guard. It's a little scary. So she'd do that, and then she'd bring the arm back to classical style. So she'd just drop in flavors here and there, but the overall technique was just basic, straightforward ballet technique. Now, in my research, what I loved was that, like, looking at Vaganova style, it talks about when you're doing the full Vaganova training, It's not enough just to have the technique. There's also music theory. There's ballet, sorry, there's music theory, there's ballet technique, there's dance history of all different kinds. You'd study the whole, like you'd have a holistic approach to dance. And I love that. And that is something that Miss Alexandra Zaharias did with us, is she would quiz us. We'd be in the middle of class, and all the music that we used for class was typically ballet music from classical ballets. And then she'd say, who can tell me who this piece is by? And of course, you've been going along long enough, she would tell you in the beginning. She wouldn't just, but she'd say, oh, this is, Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky. This is Who Cares by George Gershwin, that kind of thing, right? So you'd be hearing these composers. And then she'd say, who was the choreographer, the original choreographer for this particular ballet? And she'd talk about that. So you'd be learning composers, you'd be learning choreographers, music. She would bring out, I've talked about this ad nauseum, but I'm bringing it up again because I'm hoping that people will continue this forward. She would laminate photos of famous ballet dancers and composers and choreographers. You always wanted to get the pretty ballerina in the costume, not going to lie. But you'd get different ones, and she'd put them down on the floor, and each of you would get a different one. And first you would look at it, and you'd see the name of the dancer or the choreographer, and maybe the ballet they're famous for. And then you put it down on the ground and you jump over it, you dance around it, you would do all of your things around it. So you're looking at the photo, you're thinking about the photo as you're dancing. It was just magical. That is, to me, a great way to train in ballet. And I'm very happy to see Vaganova did that. The last studio I trained at, the technique was excellent. It was a technique that this teacher had developed of her own, very good, healthy, safe way. She was training. Her method was, I want a technique where she knows that 95% of the dancers that she trains are not going to become professional dancers. They're just not. But they're still getting a quality technique that's going to build good posture, good technique in a way that hopefully they won't get as many injuries. Now, there were still dancers who would occasionally get injuries because they'd push or whatever. But I really appreciated that what she was teaching, that was her goal. But they never talked about the music. They never used, rarely did they use good, true classical ballet music. They just, whatever. They do have the one good pianist. He'd come in and play things, but she wouldn't say, what ballet is this from? Who's the composer? They didn't talk about it. And so when I started asking the dancers, they were like, oh, what's Giselle? I'm like, these are teenagers. And they were acting like they wanted to become professional ballet dancers. I'm like, and you don't know what Giselle is? Like, I'm sorry, I get a little aggro about that. Excuse me. So that bothered me. It doesn't bother her. It's her studio. It's her choice. So, none of my business. If I have that issue, then I need to go start my own studio. And I am not interested in starting my own studio, at least not today. I like that. And I think that it's very important that it also depends on your body type. I do think that different techniques lend themselves to different body types better. Now, a lot of people love the Balanchine technique. They call it a technique. I am old school, and I come from the land of no, that's a style, not a technique. But they've codified it. A lot of people pay to do it. A lot of people do it. So since I have not gone to SAB, maybe I'm not the right person to ask. What I know from my time back then, because that was closer to when Balanchine was still alive. I forget if he was still alive when I was little. He might have been. But all the stuff that I heard from dancers was that his technique, it screwed up people's bodies so badly, it just ripped them up. It was hard on their body. They were pulling themselves into these shapes that were out of alignment. And then Bart Cook came and guest taught, and he said the reason that's happening is that the technique is not being taught correctly. When Bart Cook taught a Balanchine style class, it made a lot of sense. So it could have just been bad teachers. But I feel like it was also what this dancer was talking about. These dancers in the Balanchine company get skinnier, get skinnier, get skinnier, get skinnier, get skinnier. You cannot maintain. You cannot starve yourself and be an athlete and not expect to also get injured. It is going to happen. You are going to pay the price. And I know when you're like 20, you're like, you're going to live forever. You'll be fine. Everyone, it just keeps happening. This is nothing new. You are not special, okay? Everyone thinks they're going to be fine. And then in your 30s and 40s, you start really seeing all of the results of all the bad choices you made that you were pressured to make, by the way, by a lot of these company directors who should know better, who should absolutely know better. And they're like, nope, you got to be skinny. We need to change this whole obsession with skinny. Beautiful ballet is beautiful ballet, no matter the size. And I say this as someone who, yes, hand to God, absolutely, I admit it. When I first watched certain dancers who are famous, who were not the typical skinny ballerina, I absolutely turned my nose up and was like, that's not pretty. That's not how it should be. They're supposed to be, you know, lithe and delicate. And it's like, are you effing kidding me? I had to really change my own thought about it. You know, got to change. Okay. How are my shoulders doing? Oh, they're tight. They're a little tight. I still, you know, my posture always and opening up this area, but keeping those. Yep, that's good. We love cat-cow. We're going to do some cat-cow. That's always good to do. And my calf is still tight. Let's do some cat-cow. For anyone who doesn't know what cat-cow is. Cat-cow, cat like, I know I've done it before. Cow, moo. Oh, it's so good. Cat, cow, moo. Yeah, that's good. So again, if you want to look at techniques and which one's the best one, which one's the correct one, it's all going to depend on, you know, partially your location, partially how much you can afford. Are you going to get a scholarship? What's your body type? Does it lend itself to a particular technique or style? And that's where, you know, again, I don't know as much about what, I mean, I go, oh, Balanchine is just be really skinny. It's more than that, you know, because they have different size dancers. I will say, I do love that about the New York City Ballet. They've got some short dancers that are really compact. They've got longer ones. It's just, are you fast? Can you keep up with their gosh diggity darn footwork? Because, oh my God, it is amazing. And it's definitely, I don't know, maybe if I'd started out in it, I would have been into it. But I started out with more leaning towards Vaganova because I got my private ballet coach and he's Polish and he came from Vaganova. And for me and for the way he taught it, it was very much at the end of the beat. And I loved it. And I loved jumping really high and holding it in the air almost past the beat. I just like that better. But then I learned some of the Balanchine variations. And yes, while the footwork is terrifyingly fast, the movement is so much fun. I just don't know if I would have been very good at it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. And my body, certainly. I would have had to. My hips are tighter. It's why I can jump higher. You know, I've got hypermobility, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I'm necessarily very flexible. So I don't know if I don't think they would have given me a shot, but that's tricky to say. Then you've got Bournonville, which is much more stylized. Cecchetti, now it's interesting. I feel like the technique that I studied when I was up in New York was very much similar to Cecchetti, and that was interesting, but I need to double check that. We did a lot of work where, like, when you did turns in pirouette, you weren't on a full releve, you were on like a half releve because that put the position, the weight of your body more centered. Like if you're in a full releve, it throws your weight off according to this technique. But if you go half point, a half demi, then your weight is more centered over your ankle and then you can turn more. It was really interesting. Yeah, that one was hard for me to get my head wrapped around, but that one strengthened my feet a lot. It was interesting. Every technique, my point is, for me, every technique has value, I think. Every style has value, and it's good to learn each one. One of the problems right now that I'm seeing in dance is everyone seems to want the arms further back here because it makes you look longer and skinnier versus bringing it forward a bit, you know what I mean? And what's tricky about the arms back is that's throwing your weight off, right? So I don't know how you're dealing with that, keeping that placement without wrenching your arms and having like rotator cuff issues. I don't know about that. But that's me. All right, let me see. How are we doing on time? Because I have a 5 o'clock call. So, okay, we've got 20 more minutes. I'm going to do a little more stretching. Let's see if there's any new questiones. Okay, no, good, but that's okay. Whoever's watching, I appreciate you being here with me. Anyone here, if you all are so inclined, are there any techniques you're doing that you are really enjoying or that you've had a problem with? I did look, it's interesting. I was looking at two of the most popular ballet channels right now, in my mind, in terms of learning ballet and studying. And one, of course, is Catherine Morgan. Catherine Morgan's story, if you want some inspiration, go follow her story. It's incredible. There's someone who went all the way to soloist at New York City Ballet, amazing, and then had, personal health issues and things, quit, then got back in shape and joined Miami City Ballet as a soloist, killer, amazing, and then went through a whole thing with Miami City Ballet. If you want to talk about some tea, oh my God, they did her dirty. And then she, came back and survived that and was like, now I think she's opening her own school out here in California, or has, and she's just an inspiration. So I'm not sure if I'd be interested to know what her actual technical approach is, but it looks like it's might be from the SAB style. I haven't looked into it enough. And then you've got Claudia Dean, and she's Aussie, I think. So I'd be interested to know with the Claudia Dean, she does a lot of private coaching. I've looked at some of her coaching videos, and they've been really helpful. I really like her approach to improving extension and things like that. And I like her personality too. It's just both of those dancer teachers are amazing. And this is something that you have to think about. Who speaks to you, not only on just because they're the best teacher doesn't, technically doesn't mean that you're going to just vibe with them. Do you vibe with them, right? Like when I met Miss A, oh my God, you guys, it's hilarious. What was I, 8 years old? I was 8 or 9 years old. And my mom first took me to another place. I think it was called Krupinski's. And it was this really nice dance studio. We had just moved to St. Louis from Atlanta. And I had started ballet in Atlanta at a studio. And so we moved to St. Louis. I'm almost 9. And we go to Krupinski's. And it was an hour-long class, but the class consisted of 20 minutes of ballet, 20 minutes of jazz, and I think 20 minutes of tap. And you had to, half the class was just changing your shoes. And we walked out of that class, and I looked at my mom at like 8 or 9 years old, and I said, Mom, this is not serious. I want to go to a serious ballet studio where you wear a ballet outfit and you do ballet, and there's none of this talking or messing around. Like, I was such a little old lady trapped in a dancer's body. And it wasn't until now, here I am years later. Part of the reason that I was that way was because I knew that's what my parents wanted. They wanted a daughter who was a good girl, who does what she's told, who gets along better with adults than children, and who basically doesn't act like a child, who acts like an adult. And so, now I got to look back and go, well, how much of this did I do it just for them? And because I didn't want to lose their love, I wanted them to be proud of me. Isn't that fun? All kinds of fun things await for you as you get older, dancers. Did you do it for you? Did you do it for someone else? Who knows? It's good, but it's all of it. I did want to do it. Anyways, and then we go to Miss A's studio, and it was like, yes, this place was serious, and you were not allowed to talk in class or anything. So I liked that. I wanted that, and I did. I wanted that stability, that seriousness, that professionalism. I had decided at 9, I was like, yeah, I'm doing this. I can do acting later. I can ride horses later. I can do all that other stuff later, but this is my chance at ballet, and I'm doing it. And boy, did I do it. So think about that if you're choosing a technique or style, and do your research in terms of, what kind of injuries and things. I need to look into that myself. Like, how much do people talk about the injuries that they, retain from doing certain techniques? But whoever you train with, especially if you're going to train in a style, make sure that they're actually an accredited teacher. I don't know. That's my take on it. I just feel like there's a lot of people out there who may not necessarily know enough to be teaching. I don't know. I think it's a slippery slope because dancers' bodies change, and you have to know a lot about anatomy and where a dancer is in their development. you know, when you hit puberty, all those changes. There's a lot. There's a lot to it, I feel like, that you should know. But I still love Vaganova the best. I do. I I love it because I like including the head movements in the dancing. You know, the last studio I trained at, you were not allowed to like tilt your head as you dance. And I see why, because it can throw off your balance. And it's all about really keeping your position. But the problem for me was at that point in my life, I mean, I was already a professional dancer. It took all the joy out of ballet for me. And the thing I love about Vaganova, the thing that I just enjoyed is that thing of when if you're going en des dans, your head you're tilting this way. When you're going en des or you're tilting, you're tilting your head this way or this way, this way or this. I loved all of this. To be going, all of that. I really, it just warmed the cockles of my heart. So going to a studio where they were like, no, you can't do any of that. It was like I felt like I had been put in a box and I could not escape. It was just, and it was really good for alignment. It was really good for fixing certain things, but it just took all the fun out of it. So you can see as from my ramble, there's just so many facets to this particular art form. And I mean, there are in any art form. By the way, I'm really happy with how that hamstring felt. The right hamstring, when I was stretching it, it's so improving. I'm so happy. When your hamstring starts to improve, if you get this injury, that's the moment where you're gonna want to start going, all right, now I can really like, woo. Nope, don't do it. Did you see my knee kind of bend a little bit? That's my leg protecting that hamstring. It's like, no, we're not ready yet, right? Like I'm not ready to get back to where I can. This is not the one that's hurt, right? That's the one that's hurt. But I could try and like pull this up over my head, but that still, I'm not ready for it. I'm just not yet. I'm not gonna push it and get it, you get it up over your head again like that. I miss doing that. Oh, I miss that so much. But little by little, you guys, take it like the turtle. Take it like the turtle. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, yeah. But you won't know that until you're more than halfway through it, which is really annoying sometimes. Oh, just pulling that down. Oh, that feels so good. Look at that. Now if I want to like stretch that leg. There we go. Get that alignment. Oh, that's better. So much better. If anyone else here knows of any other techniques that they're really enjoying or appreciating, I'm all ears. Do tell me. Which one are you doing and why do you like it? Do you have any problems with it? Any concerns? Things like that? I'd be interested to know. Okay, now I'm going to, oh, that feels so good. Now I'm going to do a little, there it is, a little back pop. Oh, feels so good. Yes. We might try a little bit of split today. I know you're like, wait, but you just said, well, when you go into the splits, it's a little bit different than pulling it up over your head, if that makes sense. We'll see. I may or may not try it. What I might first try, actually, this looks weird from this angle. Again, just FYI, being in leotard and tights in front of you guys, this is huge for me. So FYI. But I'm going to do this thing where it looks so dorky, but I'm going to take my heels in my hands and let's just see how far I can stretch this way. Yep, we're okay. We're okay. This is better than last week. We're not going to push. This is just giving me a nice stretch in the hip flexor area. I like that. Normally I can pull it all the way out to the ground. And it's not a full side split. But it's a nice stretch. How much further can I go? The key is to keep breathing. Release that tension. Yep, I'm just feeling the pull there. So I'm going to actually move down now to my calf area. There we go. That's as much as we can do today. Oh, that's a lot. Oh, that's good. Yay, but it's not too bad. I'm feeling a little bit of pull on the back of my knees, just a little, but I think it's just some tired soreness. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we haven't been stretched like that in a while. Instead of it being coming from any kind of injury. That's good. That's really good. You get to that point where really, I again repeat myself, but it's what's good pain versus danger pain. And I call danger pain, it just you just know, you're like, that's not good. And my mom would always say all of it is bad. Like my mom did not like to work out. So the minute she told me, she knew she didn't want to be a ballerina when she did an arabesque for the first time, and she felt that little pinch in her back, and she was like, nope, that's it. She didn't like to sweat, didn't like to work out. That was hilarious. So I am definitely still feeling tension in here. So I'm gonna have to think about, what do I want to do for that? Plies will be good for that. I need to do some more plies for sure. That's really good. And remember, guys, if you're ever wondering what simple trick you can use to just improve your splits a little bit more, remember stretching out your upper body, your upper torso, getting your shoulders, like do a little massage on your shoulders, like have someone do it for you is better. Doing some head rolls, that really will, it's all connected. It will release the tension in your lower body. It's incredible how that works. Oh, that's good. Yes. Okay, here we go. How's that feeling? Everything, you just have your good days and bad days. This is feeling like a really good day. I'm very happy about it. Yay. That's why I definitely want to be extra careful not to mess it up. Go into that. Let's get this one. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I think I'm going to do a little bit of standing stretch here. Some basic things. Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm getting closer to thinking about maybe starting to wonder about going and taking a ballet class in public with other people. It's still so terrifying. Nobody cares. That's the thing. Nobody cares. But I care. It's also that piece of me that just like doesn't want to find out there's something I can't do anymore. And the trick is this: on your first few times back, there are things you're not going to be able to do, and you really shouldn't do if you've had time off, because that's a really quick way to injure yourself. But my ego is like, we should be ready for Grand Allegro immediately. It's going to be hard to go back to class and go, okay, we've done bar. Maybe we'll just do, like, if you're doing turns across the floor, you're just going to go into tombe pas bourrée and balance, no turns, just balance and down. And, then maybe for petit allegro, you're not doing any beats, because I was big on, if any time it was like, if it was a, we can do that again. Yay. If it was like a glissade, jeté, I was always like, glissade, beat down, glissade, beat down. I was doing all these beats. And if it, to not be able to do that right now, it's going to be hard to go, oh, I miss doing that. Will I ever do it again? Can I even jump anymore? I mean, but like, my advice is take it slow, people. So that's why I'm trying to do these very slow, just sort of like basic. I'm trying to do bar. Did I do bar this week? I think I did some plies and tendus this week. So that's better than the week before, people. Slowly coming back. I keep thinking about David Hallberg, and I know you're like, oh, Georgia. Right? Did I say his name right? David Hallberg, famous principal dancer with the Royal Ballet, I think. And he had some kind of career-ending injury, was gone for 2 years, worked his way back, came back, and now, but then he realized he wants to be a director. I think he now is a director and choreographer. I haven't done my research. I know that's very bad, but amazing. And if you want to talk about a gorgeous dancer, feet, legs for days, just amazing. Oh, this feels so good, you guys. Getting that nice stretch right in here. And my hammy is feeling safe. This is good. So that just this area back here is where that pull is. Let me see what happens if I do this. Just stretch a little bit here. Still feeling some tightness in my shoulders. That's interesting. Let me open this up. That feels pretty good. How's that feel? Oh, this is already way better, you guys. So happy. Just a little bit more malleability. I'm going to pull forward. There we go. Touch that quad. Oh my God. Ooh, I feel this nice stretch right in the front of my, just above my knee back there. Oh, and if you knew the judgment I'm having on my body right now. But I've had times in my life where I was so super skinny, but it didn't improve my dancing. It's just more like, well, her dancing hasn't gotten any better, but at least she's skinny. And you're like, skinny is not better. How do you improve the technique? Ah, there I felt a little bit of, he's like, I don't know about that. All right. All right. I'm sorry. You okay, Bubba? You okay, Bubba? There you go. Let's try the other side carefully. Yeah, see what's going on there. Okay, I'm feeling that. You know what? Actually, right now, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it. Remember what I talked about in previous ones, wrapping around the area. It really does help support the hamstring. Kind of holds it in place to keep from further injury. Really helpful. I'm just doing a basic wrap here. Normally you'd want to like bring it up around your psoas and all that good stuff, but for now, I'm not doing a full class. I love these things. Again, you can get this at a medical supply store. It's just got a little bit of Velcro on one end. Just wrap it. Boom. There we go. Oh, yep. Just like, I just feel like it's like held in and it feels safer somehow. That's really good. Oh. Yes. This front of the hip. Oh my God, you guys. From all the sitting I've been doing at a desk, no bueno. Now here I can already feel. Gonna take it easy. Take it easy. No. We don't want to. Yeah. Yep, that hammy is not ready for that. Nope, not ready. Whew. Keep it there. And you can try just shifting the placement of your hips a little bit, gets you a different stretch. Very good. That's good. Let's come down. Oh. Remember, as I say in the description, you always want to be really well warmed up before you start doing anything like this, guys. That feels good. Yep. Oh, that's nice. That was a nice hip hop. That wasn't a bad hip hop. We like that. All right, I know we've gotten more into stretching again, but I am curious. I will do some more research and see. I'll be curious to see kind of if anyone ends up commenting on this video, what other ballet techniques they like. Yep, right here. This does not feel good on my quad. Yep. Too much pull. Very interesting. Yep. We can go forward again. And we can stretch that quad. Yep. So in that case, I'm not going to do splits today. I want to. I really want to. And I know I could get away with doing it just on my left, but I'm not quite ready yet. So we're not going to go there. I could do like the old school splits where you hold yourself above the ground and you're not ready to go all the way down. But because I know I could just so easily slide down into it, I don't want to put myself in a position where I will go too far. I think next week I'm going to pull the point shoes back out and maybe sew a new pair. So I think I'll do that for next week's live stream. So I'll do some stretching again because I do like to stretch in Kvetch. I do. But then I will be looking at sewing up probably a pair of those Russian points that I tried on the week before. So if you're interested in being with me next week, I'll put up the live stream information and get it all set up. And be sure to bring your point shoes too and your questions. I would love to hear them. That would be just great. I used to do what I called point shoe parties, right, where we would all just get together and sew shoes. But this is still part of the stretch and kvetch thing. So I'm gonna keep that going, and then if as more and more of the audience builds back from what it used to be, then maybe I can do a separate series of just point shoe parties. Maybe we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it anyway. I feel like if you know the comedian Ron Funches, he's great. He's like, maybe I'll get my podcast done next week. Maybe I won't. It just depends on how I'm feeling. And that's kind of how I feel. It's like, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do a live stream of stretching and kvetching and talking about my favorite ballerinas. And then I'll do a separate one that's just the point shoe party. That could work. Yeah, maybe I'll do two. Doesn't matter. I just enjoy doing these. So again, whether you were watching this live or you come and you see this video later, I hope that you found something helpful out of this for yourself in your own dance journey or whatever artistic journey you are pursuing. I really appreciate each and every one of you for coming and visiting my channel and watching these videos. And for those of you who are coming back from the olden days, it's so good to be back. And people were asking, wait, why are you gone so long? There's a video about that. If you go back a few videos, I talk about why I came back again. But essentially the long and short of it is that everyone goes through phases. I think I just read that Emma Watson, right, the actress from the Harry Potter series, she took a few years off from acting because she just had enough. She was like, yep, nope, I need a break. People take breaks, so that's what I did, and it felt really good. And it also feels good to be back. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I think that's it for today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. My name is Georgia Reed. You've been watching Ballerina Badass. Never give up, never stop dancing. Unless you need to give up and you need to stop dancing. It's okay. I've done it. Trust me, I know. I love you all. Toy, toy, toy.